You're going to learn how to create a suitable surface for your oil painting. You're going to be using materials such as a wood panel or a canvas. We're going to be learning how to apply the primer. This is important because you don't want your surface to become deteriorated with the pass of time. It's important to mention that oil painting is acidic by nature, so you will need a suitable surface to sustain the passage of time. You will need to cover the surface with a suitable material such as gesso or an oil primer. In the old days, they used to use rabbit skin glue, but this method has been now improved by using PVA size or acrylic gesso. This is a modern material that will help you protect your surface, such as a wood panel or a canvas, from the acidic nature of the oil. The oil by nature has acidity, so if you paint directly on a piece of fabric, with time, this piece of fabric will rot, and it's important to prepare this surface with care. Now, in terms of gesso, high quality gesso, I like to use Liquitex Professional Gesso. This is probably the best gesso around. There are other brands like Utrecht or Golden, but I prefer the Liquitex. So this is a stretch linen canvas. This is a much more expensive support. And this is designed for essentially if you have a commission or if you are selling a painting through a gallery, you want to probably work on quality materials such as this one. Now, this has been stretched, and I usually use a nice fine weave canvas such as Belgian linen smooth canvas. Now, I usually will pumice the surface before I apply my gesso. So you could run your pumice stone along the surface very, very lightly to get rid of any threads. So let me just move this here so you can see this. Okay. So you want to get rid of all the threads and all the imperfection on the surface. Very, very lightly. And we're going to apply 1 or 2 layers of gesso. The linen has a very beautiful texture, so you could use the texture of the linen to benefit the work. In this case, we don't need to do that because we're going to be working on panel, but here you get to see how the canvas is prepared. Now, I've been asked in the past if you put any gesso on the back, and you do not have to put any gesso on the back of the canvas, only on the front, okay? So let's just go ahead and feel the surface. And here you have 2 options. You could either use a knife to apply this, such as this knife right here. You just apply the gesso with a palette knife, or you could use a brush. I'm going to go ahead and use a brush to do this. So it's the same process. Okay. And you just run the gesso. The weave of the canvas is very beautiful, so you want to sort of highlight the weave. You could apply 2-3 layers. I usually apply 2 layers, up to 3 layers. Now, sometimes I will use the knife, both knife and the brush, to get a desired surface, specific surface. So you can see here that there's very little gesso on the surface. So this is usually the way that most contemporary artists prepare their canvases. There are exceptions. Some artists use oil priming, and oil priming is essentially using oil paint instead of using acrylic, such as gesso, you use oil paint, usually lead white with some other mixtures of pigments or dryers. Let's put a little bit more. But now that's a more involved. I don't recommend oil priming for if you're just beginning. It's very expensive and it requires a lot of skill to manage the surface since you get no porosity and the paint kind of slips around the surface. So you have to learn how to manage the surface quite well before you can manage to work on an oil prime linen. But that's usually the high-end spectrum of art materials. You could find it also in most art stores that are reputable and that are high-quality art stores. Or you could special order the oil prime linen. Okay, so here I'm applying the gesso. You can see that I'm covering the surface, this brush, and sometimes I will need to get into the weave of the canvas and the brush will just not give me that quality. So that's where you would use the knife. So by using the knife, this kind of works the gesso into the weave of the canvas easier, in an easier method. And now you have a surface that is a lot more even. Now sometimes acrylic will distort the tension of a canvas, and it's important to understand that you have two choices. You could either use keys, which are these little pieces of wood on the back of most stretcher bars. This is a custom-made stretcher bar, so it does not have keys. So you'll need to probably restretch the canvas or at least one side. So my recommendation is to get stretcher bars. If you're just starting out and you don't have a lot of experience, just get stretcher bars that have keys. Usually Frederick's stretcher bars have keys and other reputable brands as well, so you don't have to bother restretching your canvas. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this demo, please consider subscribing to my channel. If you want to learn more about my drawing and painting techniques, check out my full courses available at Udemy. The links are in the description below.